Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, cool, thanks. All right, so let's see. I'm Amy. Like Rachel said, I'm the head of research outreach and instruction at the UNCG University Libraries.
And I am Jen. I am the librarian at Grimsley High School and the extended essay coordinator of our International Baccalaureate program. I'm also a 1996 UNCG LIS grad. Go Spartans!
Go Spartans, yay! All right, so just a little bit about UNCG University Libraries. I think most of you know us by now, but we do have a very active information literacy program. We have subject liaisons for every department on campus. We also have first year instruction librarians who, in addition to serving as library liaisons, also teach in our very busy first year instruction program. And we have a student success librarian, and those are the folks who typically get involved with this program we're going to be talking about today. We are also located about 2 miles from Grimsley High School, and I'm terrible at directions, so I had to Google Maps that, just so y'all know.
Yeah, we are very close to UNCG, but you know what? If we were miles and miles and miles away, I would still make the effort for this very worthwhile collaboration. We are home to this IB program, and I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that, so I'm just going to give you a quick, brief description. It's a rigorous academic program with a core that includes an independent research project, as well as what probably looks like service learning and a theory of knowledge class. There's these 3 components to the diploma program that the students must complete. And as I said, that research project is independent. We graduate anywhere between 35 and as many as 75 or 80 candidates each year. We actually have close to 90 on tap for coming in this current year. And I'll be honest, like, we usually lose at least 5 or 10 just in kind of the mix of deciding whether or not they're going to stay. But that's about what our IB program looks like. They attend classes within the high school, and then they work on this independent research project. They call it the extended essay, and it is absolutely mandatory. Without completing and getting a passing grade on this research submission, they will not get the diploma. They're given subject-specific guidelines in a book of about 200 pages that details how to do it. And the submission at March of their senior year is sent off to examiners around the world, and then they receive those results of their examinations along with their research paper after their high school diploma graduation. So they leave us as seniors without us even knowing if they have passed or qualified for that diploma program. It is many of IB students around the world attend IB program from K through 12. Our students, for the most part, are joining the program for just their 11th and 12th grade year. So they're catching it at the very end. And so I feel like as the extended essay coordinator, it's my job to make sure that they've got the research skills and exposure that prepares them for this kind of high level research. I'm gonna let you, our audience members, just browse through these topics for a few seconds. As you can see, these topics are varied and fascinating. It is a self-selected research paper, and so our students within subject guidelines are able to write on whatever topic they choose. And this is what makes my job so exciting and fascinating. I love this project for that reason. Let's see, I think that's all that I wanted to add on that slide. This visit to Jackson Library has really become a hallmark of our overall IB program. We incorporate it as an experience for them to get on a college campus. and explore that topic in that academic atmosphere. So beyond providing access to the resources, which are, you know, way beyond what we have in our building and library, it's also their, you know, for many of them, their first time in a college environment using college resources.
All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about our collaboration now that you have background on both of our programs. All right, so I'll talk a little about the first part. So thank you mostly to Jen for scheduling this over UNCG spring break. We do that for a couple reasons, mostly logistical, that it's much quieter in the library and we can really move these groups of students through the different places we take them. And, you know, so that of course, our jobs are a little bit slower during spring break, so we can really pay attention to them as a group, and it really makes things a lot easier. So big shout out to Jen for that. We have a lot of different sessions. I'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute. We try to keep them in groups between 15 and 20, and as Jen said, the size varies every year. So we just kind of do the best we can with that. And now I'll turn it over to Jen. She wants to say anything else on this slide.
Yeah, definitely. Our students come in with an assignment. I work with the students through most of their spring semester and start preparing them with the overview of what that extended essay is. When they come in, they have an assignment of an annotated bibliography that's due typically at the end of March, start of April, sometime around there. But we have an assignment for that specific day that kind of forces them to engage with the resources and get focused. They've been prepared at that point. They've got at least a couple of ideas for what they want to do research on, and they've read at least a couple of articles about their topic. So they come in with this assignment that's displayed there where they've chosen their topic and subject area, and we've talked a little bit about what their research question might look like. And then after detailed instruction with the librarians at UNCG, they're able to locate physical sources in the stacks, as well as identify databases that might be relevant to their subject area, and look for scholarly articles and start annotating those for their bibliography assignment.
And as you can see, this is the assignment, and as a person who did not create this assignment, as the one doing some of the instruction, I find this to be very helpful because it's very structured. They come in and they know exactly what they're looking for and what they need to find, and they really have a goal. They come in with a goal in mind. You know, this is the thing, I need to finish it by the end of the day, which really makes our lives a lot easier because they're not, you know, they've moved beyond just kind of saying, I don't know what I'm doing here, or I'm just going to wander aimlessly for a little while. They have a goal in mind, and that makes our time together go very smoothly. So I'm going to talk a little bit about logistics. We have a pretty specific plan in place when this group comes. You know, we try to keep it as structured as possible. We do have a lot of moving parts. The folks from my department, ROI, do a lot of the work. We do the instruction. We kind of oversee the registration and the tour. And then we also do the Hack the Stacks, which I'll talk about because that's my favorite part. We also have special collections, university archives involved. And so there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of folks who are involved with this day. The instruction session, of course, is, you know, a typical kind of keyword formation, turning research questions into keywords and those sorts of things. The registration, they have to fill out a form to be able to borrow materials from the library, and we, we take the rest of that time to give them a library. Hack the Stacks gives students in small groups the opportunity to go up to different floors in the library and just kind of explore what's on the floors. find books with interesting titles, which is always funny to me to see what titles students find interesting. And then they also have an activity where they go together in small groups on one floor and find a book by call number. And the reason, honestly, that that's my favorite part of the activity is because their deliverable for that part of the activity is to take something that I like to call a shelfie. And the students roll their eyes because it's a total like dad joke, but they think it's funny. And you know, I know I'm not cool, so it's okay. And so they appreciate the humor of the situation. So you can see here, these are some of the great shelfies. And yes, Jen collects the shelfies from the students and they get quite creative. It's a lot of fun for them to, you know, to go and find a book and then actually kind of get to do something a little bit fun with it.
Yeah, this collaboration has evolved over the last, I can't believe this is now my 10th year working with the IB students.
Crazy.
I don't know how all that time passed, Amy. But it started with just a simple tour and it was voluntary. We would invite the students after school to meet us at UNCG and they would offer a very detailed and wonderful tour and we would encourage them to use the resources. And that resulted in maybe a handful, maybe 2 or 3 going back to UNCG or checking out resources at the time. And we just really were not getting the kind of engagement and experience that we wanted. And so it, at one time I did a lock-in and librarians from UNCG actually volunteered to come to my lock-in in the library where they stayed overnight. We realized that library instruction after midnight, really not terribly effective, but it was a fun learning experience. What we've landed on is this day-long, what we call on our side is IB Day. And that's where they spend the first part of their day busing over to UNCG and spending this time with the librarians there to really start digging into their research and having that experience. And then we move on to another IB experience related to the extended essay in the afternoon that I'll talk about in just a minute.
And yeah, I think that, you know, I talked about the structure and how important it is to have that in place, but I think it's also really important to be flexible. You know, when you have a large group, like things are going to go wrong, you know, people are going to run out of time, people are going to finish early. So it's really important to have the structure in place, but also be willing to be flexible and to also give students time to explore and roam around and really start to feel comfortable in the library.
I see a question that's coming up there now, and I'll just jump in and answer it. One of the sections you'll see was signing up for their library card. And so students, our IB students are eligible to check out materials through the end of their extended essay project from that. And they're able to come back after this day and visit independently. I can't emphasize how important the experience of a confidence builder this is for our students to get in there, because going in and meeting the fantastic librarians who are so welcoming and focused on their needs on that day really helps ease their anxiety about the assignment. This assignment is known, I mean, if you YouTube extended essay, you'll find a host of hilarious videos of how students complain about this assignment throughout the world. And it really is kind of known for being exceptionally difficult and beyond their grasp. And it's because it is. It's something they've never done before. And we are actually waiting for them to fail horrifically at it so that we can learn from that. And so it is difficult. And this collaboration and visit helps them grow. And it really relaxes them. You know, I can't, and then every time I go and listen to Jenny and Amy and the other librarians share information, I get PD tips. So it's a win-win for me. I love it. As I was saying, at the end of this trip, they get to eat lunch on Tate Street, which is big fun. And then we come back to my library, and this is the junior class that I'm taking over. They're at the start of the extended essay process. They're at the start of their research. The seniors have just completed and submitted their research. And so they give a presentation on their topics, and they're given an opportunity to offer advice to the students. And so every year we create this whiteboard and have them write up there, you know, they verbally tell the students their advice, and then they put on there what they think is the most important piece that they want the juniors to remember. And there's a lot of hilarious things embedded in this sheet, but every year we get it mentioned how important the UNCG trip is, how relevant librarians are to their research, and how they, you know, got over that hump of thinking that this was their research and really felt like they had a partner in the process.
All right. So yeah, and you know, I think that this project is, I mean, I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of how we've worked on it over the years. But I do think that this is applicable not just to, you know, schools that have IB programs, but to any high school that would have the ability to travel to a college or a university nearby, because I think, like Jen said, the experience of being in an academic library and trying to, and, you know, working with college level resources can be valuable for all kinds of students.
Yeah,
So
I agree. If this was something that could be done with all of our students, I would like to make that happen. So look out, maybe you guys should have more spring breaks.
yes, I would be on board with more spring breaks, definitely. Okay, so we actually did pretty well on time there. Go us. Okay, so I'm gonna stop.
Any questions anybody wants to ask about this project?
There are one or two questions in the chat. So Lori is asking, Jen, could you talk about your counterpart at Millbrook High School in Raleigh? And then Amy, your counterpart at NC State?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody at NC State, but I'm sure they could do something similar. I mean, I think that'd be great. Lori, are you asking for your child? Don't you have a child in high school?
I'm just asking if you can talk to them.
Okay, so just tell them. You can just
Similar.
send them our presentation if you want. That'd be fine with us.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
send it to me. Send it to me and I will send it over.
Right, I
It
was
is great
definitely,
fun.
I've got a detailed presentation of our timeline and how this works, and I'd be glad to share that with the librarian at Millbrook, who I'm kind of familiar with because they're of their IB program, but I don't remember her name. Sorry. I remember
She's fairly new.
actually, so it's fair.
Yeah, she's really new.
Oh, okay.
All right, any other questions for us? All right, well, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amy, for inviting me. And this has been a great conference. I've enjoyed listening in.
Thank you. Thank you for co-presenting with me.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Here's the applause. So up next, we have two folks from Wake Forest University's ESR Library, Rosalind Tedford, Director for Research and Instruction, and Hugh Womack, Outreach and Instruction Librarian. And their presentation is called From Grumpy Cat to Baby Yoda, Using Memes and Teaching Mis- and Disinformation. And Hugh, you should be able to share. Take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. Unfortunately, Roz is on a much-deserved vacation right now. So you will get the presentation that we both created, but from me. And I'm sorry Roz can't be here to talk about this because we've been working together on this Disinformation Online instruction for about 3.5 years now. And we really have a lot of fun with it. So I'm excited to talk about this one particular assignment we do on using memes to teach mis- and disinformation online. All right, so anybody give me a thumbs up that things are looking good? You can hear me okay? You can see my presentation okay? All right, thank you, Jenny. All right. And I will open up the chat window really quickly and I will put in the link to the slides in case anybody wants to go onto the Google Slides themselves. So a quick bit of background and a little bit of self-promotion. Roz and I have been leading workshops for our professional development center around mis and disinformation, as I said, for about 3.5 years. This summer, we've opened those up to everyone. So we've been having alumni attend, people from the Winston-Salem community. And this QR code will take you to our Professional Development Center website. And if anybody's interested, we've got a series of 3 workshops. We've got 2 of them left in July. And then we'll have a brand new workshop around mis and disinformation around vaccines that's coming in August. So these are really fun, 45-minute lunchtime workshops that we've been having a lot of success teaching this summer. We've also been using this exercise I'm about to show you with our lifelong learning classes and groups like our ZSR Board of Visitors. And it's been a lot of fun because that crowd is way beyond the student crowd as an age cohort, and they find it fun interacting with and learning about and using memes to learn more about mis and disinformation online. We originally developed this as an assignment in our Lib 290 special topics class that was a half semester, hour-and-a-half long class, a 1.5 credit hour class that we taught a couple of years ago. And since then, we've incorporated it into a first-year seminar and that we teach, and we're doing a book chapter. Some of you may also be doing chapters for this book on teaching fake news that's coming up soon. So let's just dive in and talk about the assignment. So of course, we have to have some learning outcomes for this assignment. For this, we want to make sure they understand sort of basic definitions of memes and a little bit about the background. We want them to be able to identify some particular informational elements in the meme. We also want to make sure they understand how to analyze the meme and look for areas where mis and disinformation may be contained, and understand how to use the resources to determine that. So we start out with a little bit of background about memes, right? 1976, Richard Dawkins coins the term meme in his book, The Selfish Gene. I will say that Richard Dawkins is also a little off the deep end sometimes, so I wouldn't go out there and use him as your main source of information for much, but he did coin the term meme, and he defined it as a unit of culture spread from person to person by means of copying or imitation. Henson expands on that definition, saying it's replicating information patterns, ways to do things, learned elements of culture, beliefs, or ideas. Now, what we talk about is the idea of a meme in the internet era, right? So now it's more around video, audio clips, images we see online that refer back to these cultural points. A good way to talk about this, especially with an audience like our ZSR Board of Visitors or our lifelong learning students, is to remind them of memes that are pre-internet that they may be familiar with, like Kilroy was here, the image of the face looking over a wall that dates back to World War II and was very popular in the 50s and 60s. Or the Mad Magazine mascot, Alfred E. Newman, and his What Me Worry face that was actually originally used in advertising in the early 1900s and wasn't popularized until Mad Magazine decided to use it as their mascot. But these are all sort of these images that convey some information about culture, beliefs, or ideas. Well, then we focus on the internet era, right? And memes have been around since the beginning of the internet. We've all got our favorite meme, the boyfriend looking over his shoulder, Willy Wonka, leaning on his hand, making a statement. We've got video examples, things like Rickrolling, right? And the important thing that we talk about with these students to get them ready to examine these memes is these are no longer just organic ideas that are transmitted culturally, but now they are manufactured intentionally by people or organizations attempting to influence what we think. So they're bigger now, right? They have some sort of agenda behind them in many cases, right? All right. So here's the activity that we've developed. And it involves us breaking the students up into groups of 2 and 3 and giving them either a print or digital copy of the meme. We identify a bunch of memes ahead of time, drop them in a Google Drive. And then we ask them to look at these 6 questions and to, as a group, write answers to these 6 questions as they're examining their meme. So we ask them to look at what part of the meme is claiming it is fact and what information is it trying to impart. Now, obviously, all memes don't fall into this category, but we select a sampling of memes that all work with these 6 questions. And I'll show you some examples of those in just a minute. So we asked them to also examine who might have created the meme, because rarely do you have a source for these, right? A source of who's the creator of the meme. What motives would they have in creating it? Who might they share the meme with and why? What parts can you fact check about the meme? And if it's misleading or untrue, how so, and does that matter, and what's the importance of that? So we have them spend, 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes doing this, and then we have them report back their answers to these questions as a group. Now, when we're doing this in our credit-bearing classes, we take it a step further, and we add in a fact-checking component, where after we've sort of begun to debrief these questions, we say, now we want you to circle back and take the facts that you've identified from your meme, and we want you to take a list of sites that we give them, things like Snopes, PolitiFact, the Washington Post fact checker, and we have them, and just Google, right? And we ask them to fact check and then tell us how they fact checked it and why, what source they used, why they used that source, and break down this idea of how they're going to do their fact checking. And obviously, this is something that gets way outside of the library databases, right? This gets out onto the open web and requires a lot more vetting skills. But it also is a lot of fun because the students are really engaged with examining memes. They see them a lot, they share them a lot, they're interested in them. And it makes them usually more engaged in the fact-checking process because we're using something that they're interested in. So now, let's talk about some memes right here as an example. So I've got 3 on the screen for you. The first one on the far left is one that goes around every flu season. And it basically says that there are 2 over-the-counter drugs you can take that will cure the flu, right? And usually they say that they're better than anything you can get by prescription, or they're better than Tamiflu, or they're, or it's a cure to the flu. Well, if you fact check this on Snopes, right, you'll see that there's a lot of evidence to say that this is not a cure for the flu. So then we talk to the students about why would somebody post this? Why would somebody be interested in this? And we get into a lot of good conversations around things like the vaccine debate, right? We get into questions of, distrust of medical resources, right? And then we get into things like how people often put a person's name in the meme or put something in the meme to make it feel connected and attached and grounded in a way that feels like it's a vetted source when it's not really a vetted source, right? And then the one in the middle, I like to show groups when I talk about this because this is one that Roz and I use when we're doing our workshop around mis and disinformation around C-19. And if any of you have seen the rather dubious documentary Plandemic, this meme comes out of the Plandemic video. And Roz and I use it because we're conveying a message that there's a lot of grifters out there on YouTube who are putting up content that is mis and disinformation, and they're playing on our cognitive biases, right, that humans have. So we have an agenda, Roz and I do, when we use this meme in a presentation. And it's interesting to have that talk with people, right? That we are also taking memes and using them to express our agenda or plan or greater ideas. And then actually, Roz and I just get a laugh out of all the variations on the boyfriend meme. So we're always trying to find ways to incorporate that in presentations we do. Here's another good medical one that shows the chemical structure similarities, the molecular similarities between Adderall and crystal meth, in an attempt to say that Adderall is a dangerous drug. And obviously, if it is not a prescribed drug, it is a prescription dangerous drug. But the conveying of the oversimplification of the message that Adderall and crystal meth are essentially the same thing because those models look similar really oversimplifies the situation. And if you know much about, molecular biology, chemical structure, that's actually a big difference, even though it doesn't look like it's a radical difference between these two chemicals. So then we have to talk about, well, why would somebody want to convey that message? And is it an oversimplification? And then we get into talking about cognitive biases and how one of the cognitive biases humans have is that we do like to oversimplify things, right? We like to think we understand complex things, but when we try to convey what that complex thing is, we oversimplify it to the point where we often change the information or the message. So these are two of the memes we use, and the middle one's just because I get a kick out of sharing that one with people. And that is all I have to tell you, but I'm hoping that you've got some questions so that we can talk about different ways that people can use this. Let's see, is there a checklist that I can go bookmark? Well, pretty soon there'll be a book chapter, but in lieu of that, you can use the 6 questions we ask in the slide deck, but in the not so distant future, Lori, there'll be a book chapter where we cite all of the sources we refer to in this assignment. And feel free to unmute because I love to hear people talk. It's too quiet.
Hey, this is Lori. I was
Hey,
just
Lori.
thinking, a bookmark, like a real physical bookmark with those 6 questions would be awesome.
Oh, I love that. That's a great idea. That is a great idea.
Or even,
we could put memes on the
how,
other side of it, right? We could put memes on the other
Yes.
side, right? We could, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Or
Yeah.
even a sticker. You know how all the students are putting stickers all over their laptops? A sticker would be awesome.
Yep. I like that. That's a great idea. I'll share that with Roz. Buttons, yes. We have 2 different size button makers now because we make buttons for the students that were the larger size, and now they like the smaller size. So we got 2 button makers. They do love a button and a sticker. We do a new sticker every year.
Hey, Hugh.
Hey.
It's Amy. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about kind of how the people who are not meme natives react differently, or how they react differently.
So they love it because they feel like they're getting an inside look at what young people are interested in.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
So our ZSR, and keep in mind the audiences we're reaching out to are audiences like our ZSR Board of Visitors and our lifelong learning students. So they're sort of engaged anyway, right? We're not we're preaching to the choir when we work with those groups. But so that audience tends to enjoy an opportunity to engage in an activity that students would actually engage in, right? Oh, Lori, that's also a great idea. Yeah. And we are seeing more and more, around C19, we're getting more and more medical memes that we can use that use a much broader audience and are more representative and diverse.
Hey, it's Amy again. Sorry, can I ask you one more quick question?
Yeah.
Do you have any like sneak peeks or of the vaccine one? Because I'm really fascinated by the
Oh,
idea.
okay, so I will send you the, it's actually, I'll send you the slide deck from that workshop we do, because in that slide deck, we've pasted a lot of C19 memes that we've run into. In fact, I can email that to Rachel, and it can go in. I can put it in the Google Doc or something like that. So to that C19 workshop that we do, the slide deck. I won't make you watch the entire 60-minute, video recording just to see the memes. I'll send you the link to the slide deck.
Thank you, Hugh. That's awesome. I would love to see that.
Oh, and the free workshops. Yes. In fact, I'm just going to go back through my slides so I can really cheesily, there you go, bring up the QR code so that you can get directly to our PDC website, which is just pdc.wfu.edu. PDC. There we go. I'm putting it in the, there we go. Putting it in the chat as well. We would love to see some of y'all at those. Our next one is around the cognitive biases and logical fallacies that play into mis and disinformation online. It's one of our favorite to teach. And then our third one in the series is coming up the next week, is all about how we can all do better at identifying and addressing mis and disinformation online. And Roz is working on the vaccine one, so I have not seen it, but that is one of Roz's things that she champions, is that vaccine debate. So I can't wait to see her presentation on that. Oh yeah, the link, Lori, the link that I'll send you is the world shareable link to the slides, right? So I will tell you, Esther, we try to remain apolitical on this, because we want to inform and change minds. And we have found that around mis and disinformation, if we do better talking about cognitive biases and logical fallacies that all human brains fall for, than getting into a discussion of us and them and politics and sides. Does that make sense? Because we see mis and disinformation on both sides of the aisle, right? In the far left and the far right, right? So our goal is to reach lots of people and have lots of people pay more attention to mis and disinformation. It is very hard to do, Amy. It is incredibly hard to do, right? It is super hard to do. But our goal is to I say change minds, but really it's meant to encourage people to start thinking about these issues, in hopes that if people are putting more time into thinking about where they're getting their information and vetting the information they're getting, that they're more likely to not fall prey to mis and disinformation online. I mean, we all, Roz and I joke about this all the time. We are terrible about reading a headline and then jumping right into a rage vortex discussion about something without even reading the whole article, right? They all play up on our cognitive biases, right? Exactly, Patrick. We want to teach others how to do this work, how to step back and take the time, but that is not what our brain likes to do, right? Our brain likes to think that it's a scout, but really our brains are just good soldiers that like to march.
Hugh, I have a question, if that's okay.
Yes.
So in terms of, thinking about teaching people how to kind of do their sources, this source evaluation, have you found that you're having to shift frameworks? I'm sorry, I have a tiny coworker with me today. But have you found that you're shifting frameworks away from the traditional CRAP method that we like in libraries to other types of source evaluation frameworks or ways of thinking?
Oh, so if I were a better librarian, I would be telling you that I have aligned this to a fabulous new framework. But man, my life is all about treat them and street them, get them in and get them out and get it done. So I would say that we don't really stick to a strict framework, but we really focus on individuals cultivating those skills. And those skills may not necessarily align perfectly to a framework.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And Amy, Libby says hello.
Anybody else? Oh, I love having a conversation. Thank y'all. Oh, and it's 12:40, so we're doing good. We're doing right on time, right?
Yeah, awesome.
Woohoo! Awesome. Thank you, everybody. This was great.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop
Thanks,
the
Hugh.
recording.